So for a long time, I've been trying to figure out how I can incorporate what I'm doing in my life with filmmaking into my YouTube channel to share that side of my life with you guys, my endeavors, the things I'm trying to do, the goals I'm trying to reach. I've been trying to find a way to best incorporate that, and I feel like if I had a segment that was all about my filmmaking journey since I was a kid until today, the things that I'm accomplishing, some of my ideas, the things I'm excited about, behind the scenes footage, I would love to share all of that with you. And I've been very candid about the fact that film criticism has never been my goal in life. Filmmaking was always and still is my goal. That's what gives me the most inspiration. Talking about movies online is just fun. You know, it's something I enjoy doing. Don't worry, not closing my channel down, not changing anything, gonna still talk about movies. This segment is just gonna be a bonus. It's gonna be something that allows me to share a lot with you guys and open up a little bit. So as most of you know, I got really interested in film when I was 14. Movies like Spider-Man, Minority Report, Signs. These films really inspired me to look at filmmaking differently, and I begged my mom for a camcorder. I was like, can I please have a camcorder? And eventually I was able to get a very cheap one, and I was like, well, that's it. I've got it all. I have everything I would ever need to make films that look as good as those films. I was very naive, obviously. I was very naive, and there were things about filmmaking that I just didn't understand. And even today, there's so much that I have yet to learn, and I can't wait to learn it. But back then, I was just so excited at the prospect of taking this cheap little camcorder and making feature films that were of the quality that I was seeing in theaters. And I spent most of my teenage years trying to do that. Hundreds of short films. You know, I've talked about a lot of them here on my channel. My 2 Indiana Jones fan films. One of them, just about an hour long, almost feature length within its own right, and 2 amateur features, which I have also discussed on this channel. You know, these were never released anywhere. These were just shown to my family and friends. Pre-YouTube, that was my audience, my friends and family. Once they saw it, that was it. We worked for months and months on some random project while still going to school and having normal jobs, and then we showed it to a few people we knew, and that was it. Move on to the next thing. There was no way to share it beyond that back then. And so I was always trying to work towards what my audience, which was just my family and friends, wanted, trying to please them, trying to give them an experience with our limited resources. Despite how amateur and how quite terrible those movies were, it was a learning experience I needed to have. I needed to understand what it felt like to make a movie with nothing. Quite literally nothing. Just your friends and a camera. So obviously, once YouTube rolled around, I got really excited about the idea of having an outlet to express myself artistically. And naturally, what I gravitated to was movies. So my first channel was all about film, and it still is mostly all about film. Because that's just what makes me excited. Movies. Making them and talking about them. But like I said, filmmaking has always been my number one. I love talking about movies, and I'm never gonna not like that. But making them is a different experience, man. It's like connecting with artists, creating something from scratch, meeting people who understand how important it is to you, you know, crafting something that may or may not be good. It doesn't matter, okay? The internet, and honestly, I'm a part of this. I am a definite part of this, but the internet takes so much focus on whether or not what you created is a masterpiece. And it might not be, and more than likely it isn't. But you still got together and you made something. And that's just insanely inspiring to me and to so many other artists out there. And that's one of the things I want to share with you guys in this segment. I want to take you guys through my journey. So let's talk a little bit about Auditorium 6. Auditorium 6 has not yet been publicly released in regards to like a VOD release or distribution, but it played at many festivals. I got a lot of great feedback, but that experience was eye-opening for so many reasons because it was my first time working with a real professional crew, including actors and background stuff. We had about 15 people that came together to make that movie, which was super amazing. My buddy Matt, I mean, he worked his ass off to build a backstory for his character. He had a full binder filled with ideas about his character and how he was raised, things he had experienced. He crafted even a playlist for his character. Caitlin E. Newberry, great actress here in Ohio that I met on that project. And she was super inspiring. She was just so ready, so planned, so super professional. She had ideas and she just came to play, and everybody worked together so well. The most stressful element of making Auditorium 6 was time, because we had a very limited amount of time we could have this theater. There were like 5 or 6 days we had, and we only had to shoot at night, and we had to wait for all the customers to leave. Gratefully, the movie took place at night, so that helped. But we couldn't start shooting while there were customers still there, so we had to wait for them all to leave, and then we were able to set everything up, and we had to then take everything down and disassemble everything at the end of the day just to reset it up the next morning. So that took a lot of time. Time was really the most stressful thing there, is we didn't want to lose the location, because if we don't finish the movie, it's not like we can rebuild a theater that looks exactly like that. So that was definitely the most stressful thing, but also super, super helpful to me as a director, because I was able to figure out how to plan things better, how to budget things better. There's a paperwork element to filmmaking that a lot of people they don't want to talk about, but unfortunately it's there. There's a legal side to filmmaking and a paperwork side to filmmaking that isn't fun at all. It's not inspiring. It's just a boring, boring thing, but it has to be done so you can make your movie. And now in the case of, gigantic films that are being made out there, most directors don't have to worry about that. But us small timers, us people who save money to make films or don't have any money to make films and are trying to prove ourselves as artists, we have to do a lot of that ourselves. It's interesting, as a no-budget filmmaker or somebody who's working with a low budget, like for instance, Auditorium 6 was by no means no budget. I spent a while and I saved a lot of money to make that movie. At the end of the day, we spent $17,000 on that film, completely out the door. Now this includes the catering, food, transportation, lodging for the people who were coming from far away to shoot this movie, because we did have a crew come from Chicago to shoot this movie. All of this kind of stuff, we have to make sure that everybody gets paid, and that includes everything. It includes everybody's day rates, because I wanted to make sure everybody got paid as well. And that experience was just wonderful. Being behind a red camera and shooting a scene, and then standing next to the DP and shooting a scene with him and working with the actors, and it was life altering. Now, something I mentioned on Twitter was that I had something I was working on with Auditorium 6, because I was going to release it to VOD by now, but I got an email, and I won't mention who it is. It's a small company. You wouldn't even know who they are. They're kind of new. But this company contacted me and they said, "Look, we heard that Auditorium 6 did all right at festivals and we'd like to see it." This was because it was nominated for Best Short at the Indie Horror Film Fest in Chicago, which I was really flattered by. Because of that nomination, they then asked if they could have a private screener link for it. And I was like, of course, yeah. So they watched it and they got back to me and they were like, "Look, we're working on something right now, and we really like what you did with it, and we want to know what your thoughts are on it." I don't want to just say it yet, because I have signed the contract and so have they. But I haven't gotten 100% approval to announce it. Basically, essentially, Auditorium 6 as a short is going to have a route for distribution soon. And that is just, I am so excited about that. That doesn't happen. Shorts don't get distributed. They just don't. That's really good for us, for our team, for everyone who worked on that movie. That's really good for Ohio as well. A short film shot in Ohio to get distribution in some way. That's really good for us, and I hope that it helps Ohio filmmakers, because there are a lot of great folks out here. It's nothing humongous. Don't get blown out of proportions. Not like 20th Century Fox or so. It's a short film, okay? It's a low budget short, but it's the best option we have at our disposal right now as a small production company, Dark Forest Pictures, and as a small filmmaker from Ohio. It's the best option I have. So I'm really excited to share that with you guys when I have more information. But after that, I really wanted to make something different. I wanted to make something a little more contained and a little more personal. So I started working on a script called Notes from Melanie, which is about a writer who's very successful monetarily. He makes money doing what he wants to do, which is write. He's made tons of movies and they've all got distribution, and he's in demand. He's a fast writer and people like working with him. But all of his movies are not good. And he works for a studio called Blood and Jugs Pictures. They they specifically make movies that are terrible. They make the giant tarantula in New York versus the super duper octopus movies, okay? These are the types of films he writes. And he makes a ton of money doing it, and he's able to support himself writing, and he gets constant gigs. But he feels unfulfilled as an artist because what he's doing has no artistic merit. And so he decides he would like to write his first ever serious drama script. And he does, and he invites his very successful former colleague, Melanie, to give him feedback on his first serious script. And she arrives at his office, which is where our short begins. Everything else I said is backstory. And she's there to really just tear into this script and let him know how shitty it is. We see clips from films he's worked on before, which were a blast to recreate, by the way. So much fun to recreate. I shot this movie with Mason Hyger, who is an incredible talent. He was so prepared. Holy shit. I mean, this guy, look out for him. He is so, so good. I mean, he's already been in some great projects. He's incredible. He is so, so good. Caitlin E. Newberry from Auditorium 6 also worked with me again on this, and she was just as prepared. To let you know how prepared and how impressive these actors were, we shot a full rehearsal, one take in my phone, 18 minutes long. No mistakes were made. They were like Broadway theater ready. They were just so on. We used an office and we shot that film over 2 days. The movie sequences that are included from his past films, we shot those throughout the summer at different times. And again, just like Auditorium 6, it was such a wonderful moment to be there and to just watch these insanely creative, talented people working on this project. And it just meant so much to me to be involved with it. And I can't wait to share it with you and people who can see it at festivals this year. It's about to have its premiere March 1st, Friday, at the Short Sweet Film Festival in Cleveland. It's a local filmmakers night, all Ohio films. So I'm really, really excited to be there and to support Ohio filmmakers because people out here are trying. And I'm just glad to be involved. But with both Auditorium 6 and Notes from Melanie, probably my favorite part was the score. Sitting down with the composer and working out that score. Now, I am blessed. Aaron J. Morton has been my composer for both Auditorium 6 and for Notes from Melanie. He also composed the intro music that you hear in every one of my videos. It was originally a GarageBand loop, and he contacted me and he said, yo, man, like, yeah, your intro, yeah, it's shit. So he took that original loop and he made a more fleshed out version of it, and that's what you've been hearing now for a couple of years. So when Auditorium 6 came around, I contacted him and I was like, look, man, like, you're interested in scoring for movies, right? He's like, yeah. So we've developed a great relationship since then, and I can honestly say I think this guy is a musical genius. Aaron J. Morton, as far as I'm concerned, is a musical prodigy. He can play just about every musical instrument. We'll be Skyping together because he lives in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We'll be Skyping together about ideas for music, and he'll grab like a banjo or something and just say, what about this? And I'm like, what? Like, where'd that come from? He'll just like, he's usually in like an office wheelie chair. He'll just wheel over to the keyboard and start pumping out this thing. And to me, it's like what any director who's ever had the opportunity to work with John Williams must have felt. And I told him, I was like, look, man, if I ever have the opportunity to work on a big film that I really want to make, and the studio lets me pick my composer, it's you. Like, it is Aaron J. Morton without a doubt. The guy is unappreciated and undiscovered talent as far as I'm concerned, and I'm just so lucky to know him. And I can't wait to share some of his work with you guys. I'm just happy to be involved in film, and I really want to let you guys in on that. I want you to know that I'm doing more in my life than just going to screenings and talking about movies. I'm trying to write. I'm trying to get movies made. I am getting movies made. I'm really working hard to get this stuff done. I was super fortunate to land a meeting with the president of the Cleveland Film Commission. And I went into his office, and after we talked for a while, he looked at me and he said, look, man, you're exactly where you want to be. You are exactly where you need to be. But you need to learn how to play the game. As I mentioned earlier, there's a paperwork side to filmmaking, a legal side to filmmaking. I've got to learn how to handle myself in pitch meetings, how to go about the proper way of pitching scripts. You know, you don't just cold call someone and say, hey, I have this idea. Here you go. Let's get it made. That studios very rarely ever accept unsolicited material, because then there's this whole legal ramification that comes into what if you are already making something that's kind of like that and that person sues you. It's just a lot of, corporate stuff, but it's stuff that a filmmaker needs to know. And so that's right now what I'm working on, trying to really know as much about, talking to entertainment lawyers, talking to studios, talking to firms, figuring out how all of that actually works, how projects get off the ground. It's not just having a great idea where you can be inside some computerized world and know about kung fu like the Wachowskis came up with. It's about knowing how to go about actually getting that project financed and off the ground. You can learn everything you can about making a great movie, and you can maybe have it all in your head, but there's a lot of things that have to fall into perfect place before you can get to that point where you're even rolling camera. That's what I'm focusing on learning the most about right now, and I think that's really been helping me a lot. I've had a lot of amazing conversations with some great people over the past few weeks. So in the future, I really want to share this with you guys more. I want to let you guys in on this. I'm very excited to talk more about what's going on with Auditorium 6 once I have the full go-ahead to do that. I'm super excited for some of you guys to see Notes from Melanie at any festivals this year. It's a film that's very personal to me. It's something I've kind of want to say about the film industry and about how things are made, and it's more from the perspective of someone on the outside, and less from someone on the inside. Even though the writer has had successful films monetarily, it's more from the perspective of somebody who hasn't been given that opportunity and maybe doesn't yet understand how to achieve it, and he's reaching for it. So it's a movie that I relate to, and it's one that I'm excited to share with you. Really, the best way I can describe Notes from Melanie is that it's two characters that are warring sides of my own brain. You have one person who's insane, who just wants to throw everything at the screen, and then you have another person who's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Pump the brakes, buddy. Let's make some good shit here. And it's really just kind of like two very different contrasting writers having an argument about how to make something better. And I think a lot of writers have those two personalities in their heads anyway. I've said this before, and I'm just going to repeat it. If I ever am not able to always review films full time, like if, for instance, I'm getting the opportunity to full-time direct a feature that I want to make, I'm not going to close my channel down. Sure, I'm not going to be able to review every film and see every screening. I'll take my camera to set. I'll make production journals on set. I'll share with you guys people I'm working with. I'll let you in. Filmmaking is something I'm never going to stop talking about. It's so important to me. And when people come up to me and say that in some way the stuff I'm doing on this channel has helped them achieve something, or they're going to film school, or anything like that, to me, that's the world. That is the absolute, that's the paramount right there for me of just pure inspiration. So I must say thank you to so many of you who have expressed things like that to me over the years. It genuinely touches my heart. As cheesy as that sounds, it's fucking true. So I have to be who I am, and I'm inspired by that. So thank you very much. So I'm excited to share a lot of this with you guys. I'm going to give you behind the scenes footage, backstory on what I'm working on, ideas, concepts, just things I want to make, things I am making at the time, whatever it is, I want to let you in on it. So, guys, thank you so much, as always, for watching. And please, please, please keep writing and keep filming.